Psalm 10 is a raw, honest cry for justice in a world that often feels abandoned by God. While Psalm 9 praises God for his righteous judgment, Psalm 10 asks the difficult question, why do you stand far off, Yahweh? It focuses on the arrogance of the wicked who believe they are beyond accountability. Overview and background. Author, anonymous, though many scholars believe it was originally joined with Psalm 9 as a single acrostic. Poem. Theme, the contrast between the pride of the oppressor and the dependence of the oppressed. Tone, initially lamenting and frustrated, transitioning into a declaration of confidence in God's sovereignty. Historical context, written during a time when the wealthy and powerful were exploiting the poor and vulnerable within society, acting as if God did not exist or did not care. Outline. 1. The agonizing question, v1 Why is God silent? 2. The anatomy of wickedness, vv2-11 The character and tactics of the proud. 3. The petition for justice, vv12-15 A call for God to take action. 4. The declaration of confidence, vv16-18 God is King forever. Verse 1 Why, Yahweh, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble? Insight, this is the language of divine absence. The psalmist isn't questioning God's existence, but his involvement. Application, it is okay to be honest with God about your feelings of isolation. Faith does not require pretending that everything feels okay. Cross-reference, Psalm 22 verse 1, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, from the words of my groaning? Verse 2, in his pride the wicked person hotly pursues the poor, let them be caught in the schemes that they have devised. Insight, the wicked don't just sin, they hunt. The psalmist asks for poetic justice, that their own traps would catch them. Application, when you feel targeted by someone's malice, pray that their own tactics would lead to their downfall rather than seeking personal revenge. Cross-reference, Proverbs 26 verse 27, whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and a stone will come back on him who starts it rolling. Verse 3, for the wicked person boasts of the desires of his soul, and the greedy person curses and rejects Yahweh. Insight, greed isn't just a social issue, it's a spiritual rejection of God. To worship one's desires is to despise the Creator. Application, check your heart for boasting in things you've acquired. Are your desires aligned with God, or have they become your God? Cross-reference, Luke 12 verse 15, and he said to them, take care, and be on your guard against all covetousness, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. Verse 4, the wicked person, in the pride of his face, does not seek him, all his thoughts are, there is no God. Insight, this is practical atheism. The person might not deny God intellectually, but they live as if God has no authority over them. Application, even religious people can be practical atheists if they make decisions without ever seeking God's counsel. Cross-reference, Psalm 14 verse 1, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, they do abominable deeds, there is none who does good. Verse 5. His ways are always prosperous, your judgments are far above, out of his sight, as for all his enemies, he snorts at them. Insight, temporary success often masks coming judgment. The wicked interpret their current prosperity as a sign that God won't act. Application, do not envy the success of the ungodly. Their perspective is short-sighted and ignores the eternal reality of God's justice. Cross-reference, Psalm 73 verse 3, for I was envious of the arrogant when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Verse 6, he says in his heart, I will not be moved, throughout all generations I will not be in trouble. Insight, the hallmark of the wicked is a false sense of security and a belief in their own immortality. Application, true security is found only in the unmovable rock, not in our status, bank accounts, or health. Cross-reference, Revelation 18 verse 7, since in her heart she says, I sit as a queen, I am no widow, and mourning I shall never see. Verse 7, his mouth is full of cursing, deceit, and oppression, under his tongue are mischief and iniquity. Insight, sin begins in the heart, v6, but manifests through the tongue. The under-the-tongue imagery suggests hidden poison. Application: be mindful of your speech. Does it bring life, or is it a tool for manipulation and mischief? Cross-reference: Romans 3 verse 14, their mouth is full of curses and bitterness. Verse 8. He sits in ambush in the villages, in hiding places he kills the innocent, his eyes secretly watch for the helpless. Insight: the wicked target those who cannot fight back. This highlights the predatory nature of systemic injustice. Application: we are called to be the voice for those who are being watched by predators, to provide protection for the vulnerable. Cross-reference: Proverbs 1 verse 11, if they say, "Come with us, let us lie in wait for blood, let us ambush the innocent without reason." Verse 9, he lurks in a hiding place like a lion in his thicket, he lurks to seize the poor, he seizes the poor when he draws him into his net. Insight: this verse uses animalistic imagery to describe the inhumanity of the oppressor. Application: recognize that spiritual and physical oppression is often calculated and deceptive, not accidental. Cross-reference: 1 Peter 5 verse 8, be sober-minded, be watchful. Your adversary the devil prowls around like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. Verse 10, he crushes and bows down, the helpless fall by his might. Insight: the result of the lion's hunt is the physical and emotional crushing of the victim. Application: when we see people crushed by life or others, we must remember that God is the one who lifts up the lowly. Cross-reference: Psalm 34 verse 18, Yahweh is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Verse 11, he says in his heart, God has forgotten, he hides his face, he will never see it. Insight: this is the ultimate delusion, believing God is either forgetful or indifferent to human suffering. Application: never assume that God's patience is the same thing as his absence. He sees everything. Cross-reference: Ezekiel 9 verse 9, for they say, Yahweh has forsaken the land, and Yahweh does not see. Verse 12, arise, Yahweh. O God, lift up your hand. Do not forget the poor. Insight: the psalmist moves from describing the problem to petitioning the only one who can solve it. Arise is a call for God to act as judge. Application: our first response to injustice should be prayer, asking God to lift his hand in our situation. Cross-reference: Psalm 9 verse 19, arise, Yahweh. Let not man prevail, let the nations be judged before you. Verse 13, why does the wicked person reject God and say in his heart, you will not call me to account? Insight: the psalmist finds it irrational that anyone would dare to challenge God's role as judge. Application: remind yourself daily that everyone, including you, is accountable to God. This produces healthy humility. Cross-reference: Ecclesiastes 12 verse 14, for God will bring every deed into judgment, with every secret thing, whether good or evil. Verse 14. But you have seen it, for you observe trouble and grief, to take it into your hand. The helpless commits himself to you, you have been the helper of the fatherless. Insight: this is the turning point. God does see. He doesn't just watch, he takes it into his hand. Application: when you feel helpless, commit yourself to him. He has a long history of being the helper of the fatherless. Cross-reference: Psalm 68 verse 5, Father of the fatherless and protector of widows is God in his holy habitation. Verse 15, break the arm of the wicked and the evil person, seek out his wickedness until you find no more. Insight: breaking the arm means stripping the wicked of their power to do harm. It is a prayer for the total removal of evil. Application: pray for the power of oppressors to be broken so that their victims can find relief. Cross-reference: Job 38 verse 15, from the wicked their light is withheld, and their uplifted arm is broken. Verse 16, Yahweh is king forever and ever, the nations have perished out of his land. Insight: the psalmist moves from the specific local problem to the eternal reality. God is the sovereign king over all history. Application: when the news is bad, remember that political powers are temporary, but God's kingdom is eternal. Cross-reference: Psalm 29 verse 10, Yahweh sits enthroned over the flood, Yahweh sits enthroned as king forever. Verse 17. Yahweh, you have heard the desire of the humble, you will strengthen their heart, you will incline your ear. Insight, God listens to desire, not just words. He strengthens the hearts of those who are worn down by the wicked. Application, if your heart feels weak today, ask God to incline his ear and strengthen you from the inside out. Cross-reference, Isaiah 40 verse 29, he gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might he increases strength. Verse 18, to do justice for the fatherless and the oppressed, so that man, who is of the earth, may strike terror no more. Insight, the final goal of God's judgment is peace. It ends the terror caused by mere mortals, man of the earth. Application, rest in the fact that the terrors of this world have an expiration date. Cross-reference, Isaiah 11 verse 4, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and decide with equity for the meek of the earth. Summary, Psalm 10 is a journey from complaint to confidence. It begins with a painful feeling that God is distant while the arrogant thrive through deceit and violence. However, as the psalmist describes the character of the wicked, he realizes that their power is an illusion based on the false belief that God doesn't see. By the end of the psalm, the focus shifts from the arm of the wicked to the hand of Yahweh. It concludes with the assurance that Yahweh is the eternal King who hears the humble and will ultimately end all earthly terror. Reflection. The psalmist reminds us that while evil may seem to prosper for a season, it is fundamentally hollow because it ignores the reality of God. We often feel that silence of God during our hardest trials, but this psalm invites us to bring that frustration directly to him. Questions for reflection. 1. In what areas of your life does it currently feel like God is standing far off? How does verse 14 change your perspective on that feeling? 2. That wicked in this psalm are characterized by the thought, God will not call me to account. In what ways might you be living as a practical atheist in your daily decisions? 3. How can you strengthen your heart, verse 17, this week by focusing on the eternal kingship of God rather than the temporary troubles of the world?